And here we are in section C of not only the November 2024 DBE paper, but the 2023 one as well. And this is usually the one for around 50 marks. This is the dreaded integrated scenario. Okay, so let's go into 2024. Let's see what they asked us. And please remember, with the integrated scenario, they are testing everything you now have learned. So whatever you've learned from grade 10, it's all packed into one scenario, maybe more, but everything can be tested within this section. So let's have a look at this. They mention here that your school is celebrating its 50th birthday. A committee has been chosen to create and design an e-magazine. Okay, so already there. Our context is the school celebrating its 50th birthday. They're talking about designing an e-magazine, so an electronic magazine. So now we're already thinking Word, maybe PowerPoint. We're thinking publisher. We're thinking sending things online. We're thinking emailing people. Okay, so all of those type of things. Right. So here we go. 9.1. State 2 advantages for the committee to design an e-magazine instead of a hard copy. Well, first things first, I'm going to save money on printing. Secondly, isn't that part of green computing? Yes, so it's going to help the environment. And there are interactive elements that I can put in here, because with the e-magazine, I can put in links to, emails, videos, all those type of things, and I can't do that in the hard copy. Okay, so any of those. Then the committee needs to work on the same network system. The school has provided the committee with a wireless connection. Okay, it's provided only the committee, right? The committee with a wireless connection. Remember, we answer to the scenario. Now, what network policy should the school and committee have in place? They should have a AUP, an acceptable use policy. Then you tell them, well, your computer needs to have a network adapter or a network interface card. What is that? First of all, and this is one mark, it's a hardware component. That does what? That enables you to connect to a network. Simple as that, grade 12s. Explain why the network might be slow while the committee is working on the e-magazine. Well, because you've got multiple people working on there. So that might be too much load. You might have a weak signal. The network might be a little faulty. The files that are shared might be too large, anything like that. But can you see how this is working together in the scenario? Okay, so if you understand your scenario, answering the questions should be fine. Like, the knowledge is not the thing. It's always applying the knowledge. Okay, 9.3. The committee will now conduct interviews with previous learners, teachers, and staff for the magazine. The interviews will be conducted using video conferencing. There's that thing I spoke about before. Video conferencing. I keep telling you this. Maybe you'll listen. Maybe you won't. But video conferencing. So, yeah, what are we thinking of? Okay, so we think of Zoom. We think of Skype. We think of even a WhatsApp call. What do you need? You need video. You need audio. You need a strong internet connection. Right? Any of these things and all of these things. If you're going to be having it they're going to be conducting interviews. So you might need a projector. How's the projector going to connect? What's the size of the data files? How are you going to link this into the e-magazine? This is the first time I'm looking at this paper, and these things are just coming to my head. Okay, so I'm not even looking at the question yet. Now we go into the question. State 2 disadvantages of using video conferencing. Now, just from what I said, it requires a stable, fast internet connection. Do you think it's going to consume a lot of data? Yes, because we're dealing with video, right? We're dealing with video. So it can consume a lot of data. Yes, there is the lack of maybe face-to-face contact, but I wouldn't really put that. I'd rather just go for requires fast internet and consumes a lot of data. So if you've got a cap on the internet, it can use that up very quickly. Right. Name one good practice the committee. Okay. Do you remember these? Do you remember these in those term revision videos? Do you remember this good practice? Okay. One good practice the committee should consider when conducting the interviews online. Well, you want to eliminate background noise. You don't want like some of that's happened in the past where people were on Zooms and then suddenly people are walking in the background and things like that, making a noise, fighting. I know there was one where there was a husband who was on the Zoom and his wife had just come out of the shower and walked across the screen. So no, good practice. Eliminate background noises, eliminate anything in the background for that matter. Make sure your equipment is set up correctly, speak clearly, speak audibly, make sure there's good lighting. Like, you can't be the guy sitting there in the background in the dark, like, so what is your name? No. Okay. Next one, 9.3.3. Explain why interviews would be a better option to collect information rather than questionnaires. So they're looking at the difference between why, or rather comparing why an interview is better than a questionnaire. Now, obviously, with an interview, you can go deeper into the questions. You can actually follow up on the answer to a particular question. The response is immediate, like you don't have to wait for a response. Remember, a questionnaire you're going to send out and then wait for that to come back. And you build in relationships. And again, anything outside the answers that I've given you that are valid, you can still use them. Okay. All right, let's continue 9.4. The committee will use a scanner. Okay, so there. Scanner, input device. Scanner, we're looking at DPI. Scanner, if I can use the term garbage in, garbage out, if you give a crumpled up piece of paper to be scanned in, it's not magically going to be turned into a beautiful image when it goes into the machine or into the computer. So just bear those things in mind. So the committee will use a scanner to scan images and text for the e-magazine. What does MP stand for in camera resolution? What are we talking about? Resolution, the quality of our image. That is our megapixels. Why would the committee make use of OCR software? So what is OCR software? That's optical character recognition software. What does that mean? It means that this software, when you're scanning in that text, so let's say you scan in a page that's got text in it, the software will recognize the characters on that page and give you a document or whatever it is that you can actually edit. Now, just by me defining what OCR software is, I've given you the answer. The school wants to scan photos of the opening day taken 50 years ago. Why would you not recommend scanning old photos? Now, what did I just say about garbage in, garbage out? Okay, because if the image is of poor quality, then you're going to get a poor quality scanned image. All the imperfections, the tears, the cracks will also be included in the image. And can you imagine all those photos taken 50 years ago? Is that going to be time consuming? Yes, it is. 50 years ago, are those photos going to be fragile? Okay, they're going to be. So those are multiple reasons, and you're just going to use one, like just one. Right, photos that can be photos that will be displayed in the e-magazine must be uploaded to a cloud storage. Can you see how I'm approaching these questions? Can you see how I'm approaching these scenarios? I'm not just jumping to the question. I'm looking at the scenario itself, what they are asking in the question, just defining those terms first. And that helps me to answer the question. So photos that will be displayed must be uploaded to cloud storage. So I already know cloud storage. It's storage on a server that's located in another place. I'm connecting to it via the internet. I think of the advantages. I think of the disadvantages. Look here. What the next question is. State 2 advantages of storing photos on the cloud. Come on. Okay. What can we do? What are the advantages? Okay. So just offhand, it's convenient because I can access it anywhere provided I have an internet connection. It's on someone else's server, so I don't have to worry about storage. It saves then my local storage on my hard drive. And you can sync between multiple devices as well. This was fairly simple, guys. The next one, the committee will be using various software applications. So let's just remember what that is, to design and organize the e-magazine. So I'm talking here about programs that will help me with design. What did I mention right at the beginning? We spoke about Word, we spoke about Publisher, right? These type of programs. And yeah, they mention, look at, hey man, name 2 types of application software the committee can use. So you can mention any two. You can, remember, they're not asking for an example. So we're not asking for Microsoft Word. They're asking for two types of application software. So your desktop publisher software, your design software, your presentation software, your word processing software. Don't give examples like Word and maybe you're going to be using Photoshop for something. Maybe you're going to be using Publisher. No, they're asking you for the type of application software. Please read the question. Which word processing feature can be used to move an image next to a paragraph? And we know that from the prac, that's text wrapping. Okay, next one. An order form for the e-magazine is placed on the school's website. Which HTML tag and attribute will be used to create a link to the order form? Okay, so it's a hyperlink. So it's a link that's going to take you somewhere else. So we're talking about hyperlinks. What is the tag for a hyperlink? It's A. What's the attribute? href. Okay, so please, the tag is A, the attribute is href. That's our hyperlink reference. Right, last one. This is for 25 marks. No, man, this is a simple 25 marks. Do you see how I went about this? Right? Just understanding key terms in the question helps me to answer the question. The e-magazine will be sold to learners and parents. Learners will use NFC. Okay, let's stop there. What is NFC? Near Field Communication. What does that mean? That means, like with your debit cards and credit cards and all these different types of cards that you have, you bring them near the device and bloop, you hear the sound, the transaction has gone through. Okay, do you have to tap? No, you just bring it near to that device. So near field communication. Now, learners will use near field communication payments to purchase the e-magazine. That means they're paying with their phone, they're paying with their card, all of that. Explain how NFC payments are made. Guys, I just did that. Okay, just by defining this, I answered my own question. So payments are made by doing what? By bringing POS and devices like your bank card in close contact with one another, and then they're able to transfer data wirelessly. So I would just mention, yes, you bring in the card near the POS device, but add in, please, this allows them to transfer data wirelessly. And then they mention two methods, or ask you two methods that are used to make online payments from home. Now, these are EFTs, electronic card payments. I mean, you can even put in cryptocurrency if you want to, cash send, e-wallet, any of those. Okay. So that gets me to my first 25 marks. Next 25, that is question 10, and this will bring our paper to an end. That will be the end of section C. Okay, so I hope you've been with me so far. Let's finish this out with question number 10. Here's our next scenario. Your school will host a triathlon competition. Now, I can already think of a few things here. If you're hosting a triathlon competition, how are you going to keep record of everyone that's participating? You need RFID tags. You need spreadsheets. You need wireless connectivity. Yeah, I'm just thinking of a number of things here. Data, information, all these things. Okay. So your school is hosting something like this, a triathlon competition, which includes swimming, running, and bike riding. Learners from the school will assist by doing what? Creating posters. So just think for a moment, what are they going to use to create posters? What software? Where are they going to be storing this? Are they going to be printing it? How many copies? Those type of things. The next one, they're going to be taking photos. So we're talking about cameras. We're possibly talking about video. We are talking about the details that go with cameras. How are we going to get that info off? And also with the general administration of the competition. Okay, so there are our three areas. The organizers from the school, so that's our scenario now. The organizers from the school need to register participants. Briefly explain, first of all, what is information? Now, guys, you can sum this up simply by saying information is processed data that has meaning. End of story. Okay. Next one, suggest 2 reasons why the organizer should use electronic forms to register participants. Well, Number one, it's more accurate, it's faster, there's less chance of errors. You can store and analyze this info, and you can take it just like that and share it if you need to. So any two of those reasons. There's the posters. Posters about the event will be put up at various shopping centers to advertise the competition. Now, name one other method of advertising this event. And you can use anyone. You can say social media. You can say flyers, billboards, radio, anything like that. Okay. There they say, the poster contains a QR code. The QR code will provide a link to the website. It will provide maybe a link to the document. It depends what they've done with the QR code. Okay, because they ask you what happens when the QR code is scanned, but they haven't told you what's in the QR code. So you need to be general with your answer here that, well, if they scan the QR code, it's going to take them to either a website or a document or to additional information, because we're not told what's in there. The competition will raise money for a local charity as part of the school's social responsibility. Okay. Name an online method used to raise small amounts of money from a large number of people. What is that term? One word: crowdfunding. Okay. Give one example of a popular online platform that's used to raise money. So in other words, give me, now that you've mentioned crowdfunding, give me one example of crowdfunding. And guys, you can use anyone. There's Kickstarter, GoFundMe, Patreon, BackaBuddy. There's a lot of these things. I know a lot of the YouTubers use the Patreon. Specialized cameras will be used to capture. You see? Do you see? Yeah. I'm right. And when I'm right, I'm right. Okay. Guys, all the information you needed was sitting right here in the scenario. And the minute you get your head thinking around that, can you see how it plays out? Specialized cameras will be used to capture the competition. Specialized cameras. So now we're talking about DSLR cameras. Cameras that can have a lens change. Okay, cameras that might be able to work wirelessly as well. So just think about that before you do anything else. Now, except for the resolution, name two other camera specs that impacts the quality of the images. Now they say except resolution because we're always using resolution. But what else can we do? What else impacts the quality of the images? Now, you know these YouTubers that sit and then they've got that blurry background? That's because of the lens. So you can say the quality of the lens, the color depth, the contrast ratio, the zoom, the flash, the shutter speed, any of those specs, the ISO rating. Guys, any of those you can use. Right, images will be transferred to a laptop via a card reader. You see, we're still in the camera here. State two advantages of a card reader. Well, I can just take the memory card out of the camera, pop it into the card reader, which means it's a faster transfer of the images from the camera to my PC. It uses less power. The photos can be transferred to the laptop or to the desktop without even having the camera. Like, I don't need to have the camera plugged in. I just need to have the memory card there. Okay. Another advantage of a card reader, it doesn't just read memory cards, but it reads other cards as well. So any of those. Okay. Oh, what did I mention at the beginning? RFID tags. There we go. There we go. Okay. So let's see. 10.5. The track layout below will be used for the competition. Participants will be issued with a device that is embedded with an RFID tag. Now, with the RFID tag, that's my radio frequency identification. That means that I can track what the person is doing wirelessly, where they are, all of that type of thing. This is how they know whether somebody's first or third or whatever the case is. So let's look at the questions. What type of network is displayed? Is this a network in one specific area? Because we said this is happening at the school. Yes. So what is that? That is a LAN. Now, given that they're going to go to a wider area, can we say a wireless LAN as well? Because we are monitoring this wirelessly. Yes, we can. They'll even accept WAN because of the distance. Okay, so just bear that in mind with a scenario like this. It seems like they're also accepting WAN, but I'd probably say you're safer with LAN and your WLAN. Give 2 reasons why the school will be using RFID tags for the participants. Okay, I can track the participants. I can keep record of the participants. I mentioned this earlier. What technology does RFID tags use to transmit data? Well, it's in the name, radio frequency, right? So radio frequency signals. An autonomous car will capture the leading participant's progress. What is this thing that they're talking about? An autonomous car. It's like saying automatic. When it's an automatic vehicle, it means it's changing gears automatically by itself. So if it's an autonomous car, it means that this is a self-driving car that's got no human input. So why are there 2 marks? The first mark is going to be for the fact that it is self-driving. Okay. The second mark is that the car can sense its environment and move safely with little or no human input. So the fact that it's self-driving is one. The fact that it can do things safely with no human input is the second mark. Okay, carry on. The school organizers will be on duty for many hours during the competition. They will be tracking all aspects of the event at their computer stations. Okay, so we now think of, and I know I'm looking at the term, I just want to go through this quickly, because if you're going to be sitting there for hours, are you going to pick up things like RSI? Do you need proper seating? Do you need, water, adequate lighting, all these type of things? Yes. So this is why the first question that comes up is explain what ergonomic design is. And we know this is the design of furniture and other devices to make working more comfortable and safer. That's the simple answer, right? The design of furniture and our computing devices, because we're talking about a mouse, a keyboard, your chair, all of those things to make working more comfortable and safer. Now, apart from ergonomically designed equipment, recommend, so do you see this? This came up quite a bit now. Apart from this, recommend 2 other ways for the organizers to prevent strain on their bodies. What did we say when it comes to RSI? What do we need to do? We need to take breaks. We need to sit up straight. We need to stretch. Don't slouch. Sit with both feet on the ground. Look away from the computer screen every couple of minutes. Get up, move around, get some fresh air. Okay, you are going to be outside, but just saying. So those are any and all of the different options that you can use. Right, and then as we round this up, after the competition, the data was captured in a spreadsheet. And there we've got that over there. Now they ask, how can conditional formatting be used to analyze the data above? So what are we going to do with this and conditional formatting? Well, we can, for example, highlight cells and rank the participants according to the event. We could use top or bottom rules to see, who's first or who's last. We can use color scales. We can use icon sets, to indicate ranking by icons, any of those. But again, you are looking at conditional formatting to the scenario. The organizers, 10.8.2, organizers created a participant code as follows. The participant's name followed by random integer numbers. I remember this in the prac. Which spreadsheet functions were used to generate the participant code? The participant's name. So there's nothing that needs to be generated there. You're just referring to a cell. But now that they say followed by, so we join in the participant's name with a random number. Getting random numbers, what are we using? Rand between. But what are we joining it with? We're taking the participant's name and we're using a concatenate to join that to our rand between. So your answer is simply going to be concatenate and rand between. That's it. And then the last one, the organizers want to move the information from the spreadsheet to a database without opening the database. Name the spreadsheet feature that you're going to use. You're moving the information from the spreadsheet, in other words, exporting, there's your answer, from Excel to Access. Right. And there we go, DBE learners. That is it for your theory for 2024. So let's just quickly have a look at what we had in 2023. And again, I'm not going to go through everything. I think we've covered a lot now. So here you can see with their integrated scenario in 2023, It was more on the specs of the PC. And please, this is very important for your theory. I mean, even for IEB learners, we need to know this because there's lots of questions that they can ask. What kind of computer user will most likely use a PC like this? Now, immediately when I look at this, I see this. Look at that. Corsair Airflow 5000D 80X. That's my form factor for my motherboard. Gaming chassis. So this is the case. Now, if I've got a gaming chassis case, do you think this is going to be a gamer? Yes. What else is telling me that? Look here. 32 gigs of gaming memory. A GeForce graphics card. These are all things that a gamer is going to use. Now, what type of user would that be? A power user. Right? How is the size of monitors measured? We know that is diagonally in inches. 2 types of utility software. Guys, these are basics. Your antivirus, your disk cleanup, your disk defragmentation, your backup, any of those. Suggest 2 additional hardware devices that can be bought for this computer. What else would you want to buy for this PC? Like really? Okay, so hardware, remember we're talking about physical items that we can touch and see. Maybe you want a printer. Maybe you want a webcam, speakers, a microphone. Okay, any of those. A small network needs to be created with 10 computers in the gaming room. What type of cabled media will most likely be used to connect the computers? And you need to give an answer as to why. Okay, well, I would just say UTP cabling. Why? Because it's the most cost effective. It's easier to set up. Okay, it's the most commonly used cable out there. Next one, give one reason why this network would not require a server. So why would it not require a server? Well, each computer is managed on its own. They just connect in via the internet. There's no server required on a gaming network. No need for centralized access to files. So, yeah, there's many reasons why. Then, give one reason why this network... Okay, I've done that. A printer will be added for administration purposes. State 2 factors that should be considered when buying a printer. Now, with a printer, you need to think of things like, what type of printer do you want? What color? How fast do you want it to print? What sort of resolution do you want? What paper type and size are you going to be printing onto? So there's a lot you can, mention cost per page, the budget, the mobility, all of those things. The new computers must be secured and protected. Name 2 physical safeguards to protect the computers. Now, this is going to be in a gaming room. So how do we physically protect the PCs in this room? Burglar bars, security guards, steel doors. We can put locks. We can bolt the stuff to the floor. We can put in an alarm system, a camera, any of those. Okay. What technology can the management add to all devices and equipment to ensure easy tracking and monitoring of devices and equipment? Well, we just spoke about in the previous paper, the RFID tags, barcodes, QR codes, any sort of tracking device, Bluetooth tracking devices, anything of that nature. Right, the secure storage area is protected by a lock, which opens by scanning a fingerprint. So we're talking about biometrics. Briefly explain what this type of security is called. Just did. Okay, so that's our biometric security. And one disadvantage, well, if your finger is dirty, it's not going to scan. If there's changes in your fingerprint structure, it's not going to allow you access. If your finger is chopped off, guys, you're not going to be able to get in. Okay, so there are a couple of disadvantages, even if the surface is dirty. Same story. Virtual reality games are very popular among the community members. Explain what virtual reality is, and be careful because you can be asked about augmented reality as well. So our virtual reality for 2 marks. Let's just understand this. We're talking about technology where it's creating a simulation of a whole different environment, of a 3D environment. That's how you get your first mark. Your second mark comes from the fact that you can interact with this environment in a seemingly real or physical way. Okay, so the first thing is it's a whole different 3D environment that you are immersing yourself in, and then it allows you to interact with that as well. Now, augmented reality is based on the reality you see in front of you, and it's adding things onto that. So it's adding technology and 3D objects and things, whatever it is, onto what you are actually seeing in front of you in reality. So based on virtual reality, what are two disadvantages? What are two limitations of this? There can be physical effects, things like motion sickness, injuries. I mean, people have been knocked over already by with things like this. There could be psychological impacts like moral and ethical concerns, because you can't distinguish between what's real and what's virtual, all of this. And then obviously the big one where people are limited to the availability of specialized equipment like these video cameras and VR glasses and things like that. Right, the management of the community hall decided to host a gaming tournament. So there's our scenario. Now again, think about that. Think about everything that's entailed in that. Specialized gaming chairs were brought in. Give one feature that a gaming chair should have. Well, it should have proper back support, proper adjustable armrests, adjustable height, any of those things. Yeah, you're not going to get this in your textbook. These are just things that you should know that are just general things within computing, gaming, things like that. And they assume that many people know about this. Give two examples of how ICT can be used to advertise the tournament. Can you see a similarity between this and the previous year's paper? Because I can use, again, social media, websites, email, radio, and television. But can you see a similarity in advertising here? Yeah, okay. I hope you're taking note. What Microsoft Office application is best suited to capture and store the individual entries for the tournament? Which one? What do you think? Access. Big database can be used. The management wants to send a standard letter to all tournament participants to thank them. This sounds like a mail merge. What word processing feature can be used to quickly generate there's a personalized standard thank you letter for each participant? That is our mail merge. Right. Number 10, our last 25 marks, guys, and then I say goodbye. Your school has decided to hold a team racing car competition. Yes, ma'am. Teams must create their own racing cars from scratch using specific guidelines regarding the car weight. Teams consist of learners in the same grade. A maximum of 10 drivers per team are allowed. So just take a minute or two to think about that. What does that entail? How does ICT get involved there? Okay. Study the entry form for the registration below and answer the questions that follow. Here they say, suggest 3 ways in which the layout of this form can be improved for electronic use. So if we're creating, those electronic forms in Word, what can we use here? Here we can have a drop-down box. We can have a checkbox here for checking off yes and no. Over here with the grade, we can have our drop-down list to, choose which grade you are in. You can use a template. You can use text form fields over here. Yeah, any of those. Write down one question in the form that can be improved by changing it to a closed-ended question. So what's closed-ended? It means there's a definite answer. Okay? Now, describe how you would improve it. So, first things first. The number of drivers. That's the one I would go for. But your number of drivers, what did they say in the scenario? A maximum of 10. So you can say in there, you want to change this to make sure that they can only put in a number that ranges from 1 to 10. Maybe with a car weight. There are specific guidelines regarding the car weight. Okay? So maybe the car weight must only be, 100 kgs or something like that, or 1,000 kgs or whatever the case is. You could then say you're going to put in a rule for that. And the team names, maybe you can say, well, with the team name, you're only going to give them a choice to choose from in a given list because there are only those teams available. Right, information from the electronic form is then sent to a spreadsheet. Name one online application that can be used to capture the entry form data. Guys, we know with our pets, we can use a Google form and then export that to Excel. Two advantages of using online forms, well, they are accurate. Can you see this? This comes from the previous year. Okay? Accurate, eco-friendly, easy to share. Gee whiz, there are so many advantages. Name a spreadsheet feature that will allow you to highlight all the racing cars that meet a particular criteria. That sounds like, like the previous paper, conditional formatting. Right, here they bring in, how can a 3D printer be used to create a distinguishing feature for each car? Well, maybe the 3D printer can make like a number plate or a logo or emblem or something like that to put on the particular car. During the event, the races will be streamed. Okay, can you see streaming instead of video conferencing? So what is streaming? What is streaming? So this is where the event will basically be watched live without downloading. So the device that they're watching on will constantly be receiving data. It's not that it's downloading it onto the device itself, but it will just be constantly receiving data, and you're connecting via the internet. A camera fixed onto a drone will record the races. State 2 ways how the data can be transferred from the drone camera to a computer for streaming. Well, that can be done wirelessly. It can be done, now when I say wirelessly, it can be a Wi-Fi connection, it can be Bluetooth, it can be maybe a cellular connection, it can be a satellite, it can be via the SD card or via a USB cable. Right? Any of those. Next one, the broadcasting computer must have a high-speed internet connection. Give an example of a high-speed internet connection. Come now. You know what this is. 5G, fiber, satellite. Any of those. Internet speed is usually indicated in the following format. Now, the minute you see this, this is download speed, this is upload speed. And there they ask us, what do the numbers represent? First one is download, so it's 30 megabytes per second download speed, 5 megabytes per second upload speed. Okay, and then we've answered the next one as well. Certificates are created in a word processor using a standardized document. What is the standardized document called? That is called a template. Simple. That is our template. The racing car competition will be covered by the school newspaper. Can you see the similarity to last year? Okay, just saying. The school newspaper will be publishing photos of the event. What word processing feature will they use to include a visible description above or below the photos? Come on, guys. Those are captions. Yes, captions. Okay, let's bring this to an end. When pasting the table containing the results of the races, it does not fit across the width of the page of the word processing document. Come on, man. Come on. Suggest an appropriate action to resolve this problem. Well, we can auto-fit the contents. We can auto-fit to the window. We can change the page orientation to landscape. Remember what we did in the prac? Yes, we can do that. Suggest 2 ways how the school newspaper can give recognition to community members who contributed photos and articles about the races. How can we do that? Through referencing, right? In our bibliography, we can put in citations, footnotes, endnotes. Each photo can have a particular caption as well. Okay. And then our last one, as we wrap up, according to the POPI Act, geographic information is regarded as private. Other than geographic metadata, in other words, the data of data, give 2 examples of metadata that can be added to photos. Well, the type of camera used, the time when the photo was taken, the author, the date, the ISO, any of those. All right. Grade 12s, that's it for our revision from 2024 and 2023. The final papers for theory. I hope this plus everything else I've put in place. And in the description now, you should find an exam theory prep document just for you. Just for you. I haven't included it in the other videos. I wanted you to finish this series. So in the description, you will find a link to that document. And all I can say is thank you very much for the support this year. God bless as you write this exam. So all the best for your CAT theory exams.